everyone, I'm Rebecca and welcome back to my sewing room. We are picking up once again with the 1995 Butterfly Princess Barbie cosplay, this lady right here. And where we left off in last week's video was that I had cut out all of the sleeve and sleeve puff layers, but had not actually sewn them together yet. So that is what we are starting with now. I have these sleeves right here. This is 2 layers silk organza and then the sparkle tulle, and they are pinned together, ready to be flatlined. And then I have to kind of sandwich together and flatline the puff layers as well. So I'm gonna go get started with that, serging all of that in place, and then run some gathering stitches to make these look a little bit more like sleeves. And then hopefully we'll be able to set the sleeves and sleeve puffs and have a lovely mess of things going off my shoulders. So let's go ahead and get started. Maisie has been trying to work her way back here onto my sewing table where there's a box filled with studs for Jane Seymour and the rhinestone stuff, and now she's decided she needs to lay in this box with like squinched in amongst everything and chew the box. Maisie, hey. Oh yeah, caught you guilty on camera trying to bite your mom. How rude. How rude. Ow. You are being the biggest butt. I've got the sleeve puffs here. As you can see, they are gathered up at the top now. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn up the bottom area here twice with a very small turn at first and then a turn big enough to make an elastic channel. And I'm going to run elastic through there to poof up the bottom but still make it stretchy. And then the sleeve poofs themselves should be done and be ready to be set into the arm's eye. So I'm kind of still experimenting with these shoulder puffs, but basically I have pinned them in place so that the seam allowance is facing off this way because it should cover the shoulder straps. That's what it does on the actual Barbie. And also I feel like if I sew it down like this so that it's kind of sandwiched here and then flip this over, it will kind of give it extra poof. That's kind of what I'm hoping, because what that is going to do is it means that it has to come back over the shoulder this way, so that we get that extra poof right here. But I'm still a little worried that this part of the sleeve is going to be too drapey. Now I will have my actual sleeve under there too, so that might add a little bit of extra, and of course my shoulder's going to be in there, but I want this to stick way off of my shoulders. And so I'm wondering almost if I need to be adding like a horsehair braid or something like that in there, but I want to try all of this as is first and put the sleeve on, etc., before I decide if this needs extra stability. And then as far as like the back of the sleeve puff, hers goes all the way to the center back of the dress. So that is what I'm doing as well. Also because honestly, this is so densely gathered that basically I have the gathers pulled up as tight as they can go until a couple of inches behind the shoulder seam here. So basically to about here. And at this point, it still is very densely gathered. It's just not as densely gathered as it is over here. Like there's a little bit of give, but yeah, I'm hoping that that will wind up kind of being the right structure and shape. So I'm going to sew that in place, probably baste it in place to be honest, and then flip it back over and also put the sleeve into the arm's eye here and see if that gives me the right structure. So unfortunately, this poof is not working. This is what it looks like at the moment. And you can see that that is not even remotely what Barbie's is doing. Hers is like way farther forward than mine. And I think that I got thrown off because of the straps and because of where this was sitting. And hers does kind of like overlap, like it overlaps, particularly on one side. It's definitely asymmetrical, which I feel like it was a mistake, to be honest. But it's very much overlapping on this side in particular. And mine, I had like a, I don't know, ½ inch overlap. It's not enough. I need to move this whole shoulder poof down probably to here I think it comes down all the way to here. I don't know then what that will do shape-wise, like if that will help things. I'm also not sure how I'm feeling about the back because I feel like it is hanging particularly low in the back, whereas hers kind of like goes straight out. And I'm not sure how they have constructed that. Like, it's definitely the same shape. It honestly seems like she has just been in her box for so long that it has been compressed, because it's like it's been pressed in the back, and so it's just stuck that way now. And so maybe that's kind of what this needs to happen in the back too. I can't see the back at all. Like, it's not even one of those like, oh, let me turn and look over my shoulder. No, there's a giant shoulder poof there. I cannot see it. So I'm gonna have to figure out how to look at the back, because I have no idea at this point. Like, I might have to literally take pictures in a mirror over my head and then look at those pictures, because I can't even see it in the mirror. So yeah, this needs to get reset. I also am like, I'm not sure about this. I feel like, oh, I almost got her head stuck on backwards. I feel like it is about the right height and stuff for hers. I think. I don't know. I wish it was the bolder color, like the bolder pink, but this doesn't have the silk organza in it. This is just the tulle. Hers is so asymmetrical. Maybe it is on purpose. Look at that. It's like it barely starts over there and then it really goes up there. It seems wrong, so it seems like it's not on purpose, but maybe it is. But yeah, I think I'm going to keep the ruffle as is. I'm gonna have to think about that more, but I have to fix this first and just see if we can make this look right. Oh, but all that said, this is the first time trying on the bodice now that it's been painted, and I am so in love with it. Like, this is honestly bringing me so much joy, and frankly is probably already rocketing into the tops of like my favorite things I've ever made. I freaking love how the fabric painting turned out on this. I think it is perfect, and yeah, I could not be more thrilled with how this part of the bodice looks. So I reset the front section of the shoulder poof from basically the shoulder down to the front. I undid the stitching and redistributed those gatherings and brought it down lower. I have also actually put a pin in. I just kind of took a little like tuck right here and put a pin right there where I think it's going to need to have a little tack. So that is one additional thing. One thing that I feel like I'm noticing, and I could be wrong, but I feel like in doing this, it is kind of trying to flip the edge a little bit like this, which is I think why it's trying to expose my straps a little bit more. And the other thing is that it's just not giving me the volume that I want, which is like this. So I'm really tempted to try adding horsehair braid into this, like literally one vertical, I don't know, is this vertical? Vertical, the length of the poof strip of this horsehair braid that will maybe make it stay straight out. My one worry is that like this is not nice when you cut it. Like this winds up being very, very pokey and painful. And so I don't know the best way to finish this besides, I guess I could just like literally cover it in Minky or bias tape or something like that and then apply this edge, but obviously I wouldn't be able to do anything that's super visible like that on the other edge down here. Now, if it's doing its job and if it's keeping this away, it doesn't matter if it's pokey because it won't be touching me. But will it do its job? I don't know. But I kind of think I might try just like hand whip stitching this in. Oddly, this came with like white stitch stuff on this edge. You can see that there, which makes it super, super obvious. It only has it on that edge, not the other edge. And I undid a bunch of it so that it's not on either edge, like down to there. And it doesn't seem to have any real function. I think maybe... is it so you can like pull it up and gather it without running a gathering stitch? That's my only guess, is that it'll help you go around a curve. That probably is what it's for. I don't need that because this would be a straight panel. if I were to do like the full bottom, but I don't think that I want that, because what that would do if I put this around the hem is it would make it very circular, and I want it to stand out like that. So we're gonna try to apply this and see if it does what I'm hoping that it will do. So I haven't even actually put this on yet because I can tell it's not doing what I want. You can see that I'm getting the initial lift right here, and then the weight of the horsehair braid is actually bringing it so far down. There's just no lift whatsoever. So the way that I put this in here, it's all just pinned right now, but the way that I put this in here is that I actually curved it over so that the end is sticking out this way towards like the end of the sleeve, and it's curving across the shoulder and then coming with the poof part. So it's making this sort of wave shape over this C shape. And that is giving me this really, really great lift over here. So maybe what I need to do is actually stop the horsehair braid like here so that it then doesn't bring down that. I've got so much of this horsehair braid. I got this from, I think, the bargain basement like 500 years ago that I've never used. And so I don't feel bad kind of cutting up pieces and just testing this out. So I think I'm going to kind of cut off that extra 6 or 8 inches or whatever down here and just see if the shortened part will give me the lift that I want. And actually, now that I've cut the length off, I'm realizing that what could have been causing that sudden shift downwards in the sleeve is this giant bend in the horsehair braid, because the way that I've had this stored for those 500 years is like this. So every, 14 inches or so, there is a huge curve in this. I don't know if that's something that can kind of be like pressed out of it, but obviously it wants to make that curve, and that was right at that spot where it was falling down suddenly. So, but see, without that, it's not giving me the lift I want. I mean, it's better, like it's definitely better, but I want it to be like whoosh. So I don't know, maybe trying a piece of this without the bend, trying to get rid of the bend in the horsehair braid, maybe that is the better solution, and still have it go all the way out. But it does feel like it was wanting to pull it down too, like just the weight of it, because there's nothing in here. And the problem is I need to stick a butterfly on one of these shoulders as well, and I need something for the butterfly to stick to, because there's just nothing there. So I don't know, I think I might do a little iron test on that little curve right that's in there right now, see if it'll go away, and then maybe try it on to see what changes even just this piece made to the lift of the shoulder poof, because I don't know, I don't know how else to get it that really oomph. And I want it to be crazy like Barbie's. Yeah, I mean, it might be better than it was before without any of that horsehair braid in there, but it's definitely not giving me the lift that I want. And I'm frustrated because I don't know how to get that. I want it to stick straight out. I want it to do like that. That's what I want. And I'm not sure how to do that. I did notice that when I tried to press the horsehair braid, it did seem to get the bend out, but then it also kind of contracted like this, which I'm sure is, you know, something in the melting process because it is plastic. I don't know. I want it to be bigger. So I think that what I'm going to do right now, because I'm still so torn on this, you know, sleeve support situation, and it's hard to compare, like, do something, like just set the sleeve initially, put it on, see what it looks like, take it off, fix it, put it on, see what it looks like, take it off, fix it, put it on. That's really hard to compare one to one to one. And so I think actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the other sleeve and sleeve puff. They're sitting there, they're just waiting to be set on, but I'm going to make those and set those on, and then play with arrangements of the horsehair braid to see, like, okay, well, if I have one half piece, what's that gonna do? If I have two pieces, maybe that come together at a point, what's that going to do? Like one coming from each side, front and back, that kind of come together at the center. What's that going to do? If I have one full length piece, what's that going to do? That way I can literally have like one shoulder doing one thing and the other shoulder doing the other thing, and it will be easier to compare what the heck is going on. And also in doing that, I had a look at what the back is doing, literally using my phone in the mirror like this to try and see. And right now the back is like just very full, very puffing. And I really think that what needs to happen is that it needs to be like more pressed down like that in the back to get the kind of same look that hers has. And I think that to do that, instead of literally just like pressing it, because these fabrics aren't really going to respond to that super well. I mean, particularly like the tulle, it's just not going to want to be like, well, I'll smush myself and I'll stay that way, right? So, but if you press it and then you tack it a little bit, that will give it the same look, and that will give it a look that will stay. So I think that's what I'm also going to try doing in doing all of this sleeve shaping stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and make the other ones here, and also that will give me a better idea of like what this actually looks like, you know, also the functionality of like walking through doorways with giant shoulders, etc. It's like, I kind of wish that, you know, I could just pull out like an 1830 sleeve support thing, but it's sheer. So we're kind of out of luck for anything that might actually show. We need to stick with sheer options, which makes things more difficult, of course. But yeah, I mean, like, it's good. It's just not perfect. So I added the other side for the sleeve puff, sleeve combo, etc. And I have been trying to figure out like some other method for support with like the horsehair braid, like I mentioned. So this one right here, what we're looking at is one piece of the horsehair braid, this time with the kink mostly ironed out. And it's going all the way from the shoulder, like curving up over the shoulder and then going to the hem of the sleeve. And then I've got another like little piece here that I'd cut off, and I just kind of put it on there as a second piece, and it is still like it's giving me more than this side, but not by a ton. And honestly, like as soon as you try to put like the butterfly anywhere near, we're just like straight down, not any. This just needs to have something else in it supporting it. And so I've been trying to think of like what else I could do. And my thoughts turned to, well, what about like millinery wire? What if I took some wire and maybe make like a small section right here, like a little channel, and try to thread wire through it, because I can bend this. So that means that it's not going to be, you know, a big circle. I could bend it to like maybe a point or something and see if that works, and probably bend it back a little bit too to give that extra support. And I don't know, I just feel like I'm at a loss of like how to get the height, and especially also how to support a butterfly on the shoulder. And I don't know if the answer is just not make the shoulder butterfly magnetic and make it out of something way lighter, like just the vinyl with no iron in it. But I don't know. I mean, it's just really frustrating that like I'm not finding any sort of solution to get this to be huge and stick out like that and support a butterfly. So I have literally just fed this millinery wire through a little hole that I made in the netting in the center back. And then I just kind of like put it to the extent of this circle. I haven't even stitched this in place yet or anything, which I will either do a whip stitch by hand, which would allow me to catch the pink better, I think, because I do want the pink to still be to the edge, and I feel like it's kind of falling back in now. Or I will, if I can catch the pink, I'll just do a little straight stitch on the machine right along the edge of the wire there. But I just like pinned this butterfly here. Yes, this is the wrong side for the butterfly, but I just kind of pinned it on right there. And already you can see the support here is so much better. Like, look at that. This might be a little bit extreme, but I haven't really bent or manipulated the wire yet here. But I think that this is actually the right track. That noise you heard is Maisie walking all over my table and trying to get into pattern papers and all that sort of stuff. Maisie, do you want to say hi? Maze? Maze, look at here. Look at the camera. Oh, don't fall off the table, Maisie. She's still learning how to sew. She hasn't quite mastered it yet. So I've only sewn a tiny bit of this so far. We're literally talking like right there and I guess this bit right here. But it looks really good. I'm doing what is basically a humongous buttonhole stitch where you kind of do a whip stitch but you're catching the thread, and it's keeping the pink really close to the edge there because I'm kind of whipping it in. Hopefully I will be able to get the same results over here where we've got this big space right now just because the pink is falling in. But yeah, I think that's looking really nice and clean, and I'm taking such big stitches that it goes pretty fast. These are like 1/2 inch apart stitches. So yeah, not too bad. And I think this is going to be the structure I need. Honestly, this is probably overkill. It truly probably is, but I think this is the answer. So this is looking pretty decent. The wire is now sewn in almost all of the way. I did not sew the very back corner of the wire. You can see it sticking out the top there because I need to figure out what to do with the end. And also because I've actually squinched this up just a little bit on the wire. You can see it's kind of like bunched just a little because I also have pinned in a piece of the horsehair braid, and this is one of the pieces that goes like all the way to the edge here. So it's starting there at the shoulder, curving over, and then is coming over here. And again, right now it's just pinned in place. And then the other thing that I think I'm going to do, probably just on that side, because that is the side that gets the butterfly. Right now I've pinned in a small, it was that cutoff piece of horsehair braid. Again, kind of starting it with a curve right in there and then pinning it in place just here, because I think that that will really help support the back of the butterfly that fits on the shoulder. So let's see if I can go ahead and just pin that butterfly in place on this one just to test the size, just to test this side and see if it will sit without really collapsing this. I think that it will do a pretty decent job. So I've literally just stuck a single pin in this butterfly. It did definitely bring the poof down like this, which is why I'm thinking that I'm only going to put the horsehair on the side with the butterfly, as in the small piece of horsehair. I'll put the big piece of horsehair on both, but that way I can get that little bit of extra support on the one side that needs it, whereas like the other side doesn't need it, and hopefully will just kind of sit a little bit lower naturally without having any horsehair there. But yeah, these are definitely, they sure weigh it down, even though they feel so lightweight. When we're talking about like competing against just tulle and organza, they sure are heavy. Well, it is definitely standing up. Have I gone to too much of an extreme? I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, like, looking at Barbie, particularly looking at this sleeve that doesn't have the butterfly on it, we've got the same shape. Like, it's a match. It's just ridiculous, and I don't know if we've gone so ridiculous that we've gone past good ridiculous at this point, or if we are still on the good ridiculous train, because obviously this is ridiculous. Like, I want this to be ridiculous, and maybe it's just that this one isn't matched yet because this doesn't have the wire in it yet. I think that once it's matched, it's gonna look right. I think that's the thing. And also once I add the butterfly, because I have left in, the horsehair is still all just pinned in this side right now, but I have left in the little horsehair bit that would be really on the other side for underneath the butterfly. And I think that once that is added, it is also going to weigh down the sleeve probably a little bit. Not a ton actually, but a little bit. And I think that that is the way to do it, is to have horsehair just in the one side. But I think it works. So yeah, I guess it's time to take this off and put wire through on the other side as well to get them to match, and also to start hand stitching that horsehair in, at least like the big piece of horsehair, the one that's going down the center, because I do think that that is adding a lot of the poof, the lift really right here. That's all coming from the horsehair. So this is obviously all helping with the overall support. But yeah, and I did finish off the wire at this point, so there is no wire sticking out the back. Just in the front and in the back here, what I did was I basically made a little like kind of 90-degree L out of the wire, and I just sewed that along the edge of the neckline or the edge of the sleeve. What that is doing is it is definitely pulling this away from like my body and from, you know, my torso towards my arm. And I don't know what's the best way to fix that. Maybe just angling the wire some will help with that, I think. Also, once the skirt is attached, that is going to weigh this down overall, and I think that's going to help. But yeah, I mean, I think that I think we figured it out. I think adding the millinery wire is the way to go, and that we have found the appropriate levels of ridiculousness. So I'm gonna go hand sew in some more wire and the horsehair, and hopefully we will get a matched set very shortly. So I put the wire in this sleeve. I haven't yet had a chance to sew it because I had to run out and teach a sewing lesson. I do teach sewing lessons in case you are local and interested. And also while I was out, I stopped at Michael's and finally bought the paint to paint the rose with. So this is what I got. It is Deco Art metallic paint, and it looked like a pretty good color match. I brought the little Barbie rose with me. So I'm going to go ahead and paint the rose that I made. I still need to figure out what to do about this handle because actually it has gotten very, very sticky. I have yet to put another coat of the spray paint over the foam handle, but like I have been sitting this actually inside kind of the bust of my Jane bodice that has been sitting on the dress form that is behind the camera, and it was stuck to the dress form just now. So yeah, I do need to figure that part out, but this should be just simple, painted on, probably just one coat and we're good. And hopefully this color looks as good as it does in the bottle. So let's paint a rose. I painted one coat on. It's looking nice, but I'm definitely going to need another coat. It is looking nice and metallic though. The other thing that I've noticed that is a little bit weird with this is that it seems to be like compacting or something right in the center. You can see there, it's like there's a wrinkle that has formed that definitely wasn't there. I feel like even after it had dried after like 24 hours or so, that wasn't there. So it makes me a little bit nervous as to if that is going to get worse. But that's the rose so far, and once that coat is dry I will put on another coat. So now time to go sew that wire in. The second coat on the rose looks really nice. I know it's looking mostly like glare and probably non-focus to you, but I like it with the two coats, so I think that's where it's going to stay. I also did another coat on the handle, and I actually just did it like, I don't know, 4 hours ago or something like that, I think. And oddly, it is not only feeling dry, but it's also significantly less sticky. Now, it had been drying in my very cold garage, and literally already now that I've been inside with this for like 2 minutes, I am starting to feel like it is starting to get sticky again. So it must have something to do with like the warmth of it. I'm kind of thinking maybe I can like shellac it with clear nail polish or something. What's interesting is that this is not sticky. This is on foam. It's foam clay, so it's very different foam than the handle foam, but it is painted on foam. So the other option maybe is to find a really similar color of regular acrylic paint and paint that over. Maybe it's the spray paint that's making it sticky. But I think I'm going to try the clear nail polish on it. I only did the spray on this. I did not fix any of the patchy parts or the parts that have come off because of the telescoping on the wand handle itself. So I'm just going to leave those as is. Otherwise they're going to come right back off again when I telescope it in and out. I mean, more of it's coming off literally right now. So yeah, that is the rose prep done, I guess, other than maybe something to make this less sticky. And then as you can see behind me here, this is all wired. The wire is sewn in. I have partially sewn in the horsehair braid. So this one I think was where I started with the sewing of the horsehair braid. So the little front piece that the butterfly is going to sit on, that part is completely sewn in. The back piece that goes all the way to the edge of the wiring, that's partially sewn in. So I still need to hand sew the rest of that, and I need to hand sew the same thing on the other side. And then obviously at some point I also need to sew the butterfly on there. However, you know what happens when I say however, we have actually run out of time this week for sewing because it's now Monday when I'm filming this. I was doing all of that yesterday on Sunday. So that means it's time for the start of a new week and a new video and the end of this video. But hopefully you've enjoyed this video. I definitely was hoping to get a lot more done, but just trying to get the sleeves perfect obviously took more time than I anticipated. So I'm really hoping to finish this project in next week's video, because at this point, other than that little bit of hand sewing left on there, it's really like adding the skirt, hemming the skirt, putting the butterflies on, which is probably gonna be the very last thing that I do because I do want to make them removable, and also figuring out the bangs on the wig. I think that's it. That's all that's left. So I'm hoping that despite it being like the second to last week before we open for Xanadu, I am hoping that I can get that done. I will leave information for Xanadu down in the description box below if any of you are in the Tacoma, Washington area and want to see a ridiculous show that has forced me to learn how to roller skate. It's very fun. It really is, and it's very silly. But that will be performing in Tacoma every weekend in February, leading right up until the weekend before Comic-Con. Anyway, hopefully you like this video. If you like this video, please go ahead and click the thumbs up icon. And if you'd like to see more videos like this from me, please go ahead and click subscribe and the little bell icon to be notified every time I post a new video. I do post videos here on YouTube at least once a week, usually with sewing vlogs like this out on Tuesdays, and sometimes with additional costuming or sewing related content out on Saturdays, but I post every day over on my Instagram, so please go follow me on Instagram. That's at Lady Rebecca Fashions. And if you'd like to help support all of the work that I do on this channel, I do have a link to my Patreon and my Ko-fi down in the description below, or you can send me a super thanks or join my YouTube channel memberships right here on YouTube below the video. I'd also like to give a special shout out to my Edwardian level patrons, Jean and Kim. Thank you all so much for joining me today. I hope you all have a wonderful week, and I will see you very soon in my next video. Happy sewing!